Hello everybody, and welcome to our latest installment of a new project that we've been working on here for the last little while, and it's called Behind the Jersey. The good people over here at Dickinson State University have invited me over and given me access to the young people who play sports for a variety of pursuits, passions, endeavors. Stuff like football, we've done baseball, we've had softball, we're going to have basketball even more as we get closer to the postseason or segue into the postseason. And we look forward to covering all of the sports. And I'm luckily here today and lucky enough to be with one of the senior rodeo stars. She is a barrel racer for the rodeo team. And for those of you who are uninitiated, maybe around the country, you don't realize that you do have the opportunity to do rodeo at the college level. And her name is Emily Beck, and she's been at the school for how many years now?
This is my 4th year.
Okay, all right. And she's been at it for quite a while. She was just telling me before the show started that she has done some professional rodeos over the summer. And so the opportunities that are available at this point for young people who want to be involved in any variety of sports are certainly out there. So I encourage all of you, no matter where you think about going to the universities or what pursuit you have, by all means, check into them. So Ms. Beck, what brought you here in the first place?
Actually, my brother, he played football here for 3 years before I came to school.
What was his name?
Hayden Beck.
Okay.
So, yep. I just kind of felt like I'd be more comfortable having somebody close to home and still being just a few hours away from our hometown, having my parents there.
Right.
I was kind of scared to leave the nest as much as I hate to admit it, but
it's understandable.
Having him here was very much kind of what brought me to the school. And then when I found out they had a rodeo team, that's kind of what put the cherry on top for me. So.
Okay. And so when you got started in rodeo, how old were you?
I kind of had a late start to rodeo, actually. I was 16 when I finally started going to the jackpots and amateur rodeos, but most kids start riding when they're, 2, 3, 4 years old.
Sure.
I didn't get my first horse until I was 8, so
Okay.
I had a later start than what is standard, especially on this side of the state where rodeo is so big. It just wasn't as popular back central, eastern North Dakota where I'm from. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I started when I was 16 with my first kind of real barrel horse, and my my mom and dad would drive me around in our Suburban hooked up to a little bumper pull trailer, and that's how we would get around to the rodeos. But
And you're from a place called Fessenden?
Fessenden, yep.
Fessenden? And give me a frame of reference for where that's located.
Well, the easiest, I guess, kind of location would be Carrington. That's kind of a big one that people recognize.
Okay.
But otherwise, we're like co-opted with Harvey. I don't know if you ever heard of them. We're just southeast of Minot. So,
Okay.
yeah, about an hour and a half
Okay.
would be the biggest city.
And with you getting started at the age of 16, were you a prodigy, or did it just come easy to you? What was the nature of that?
There was definitely a mix. I had always had a passion for horses, but I had never really had the opportunity to ride as much as I would like to until I finally convinced my parents to get me my first horse. And then after that, I found it did come easy, but I had tons of people helping me, and we would do lessons, and eventually I joined a saddle club in the next town. And so I had lots of people throughout the years that were pushing me to be better, but it definitely was kind of a natural thing that came for me.
And what was your first horse's name?
Oh, it was Spice.
Spice?
Yep.
And do you get to name the horse, or is
No,
it
well, there's kind of a backstory with that. Some people say that if you have a horse that came with its name, it's bad luck to change it.
Okay.
So I've never changed a horse's name. Sometimes I've shortened it, but most of the time I try to keep their name.
Okay. And what sort of horse was it?
He was a bay quarter horse. He was
Okay.
about 15 hands, I think. So a little too big for me at the time, but
Right.
yeah.
Probably taught you more. Probably made you a stronger
for
racer,
sure.
huh?
Yeah, we found out, well, he wasn't a barrel horse at all.
Okay.
When I first got him, we just needed something that I could kind of tool around in the pasture and
Okay.
just learn. And we had no tack, we had no saddle, bits, nothing that I use all the time now. So I would just hop on them. I had to climb up on a fence and I'd ride them bareback.
Okay.
And that's how it went for about the first summer that I had him, until we realized, like, oh, people use saddles. And so, yeah, we had a bit of a late start even to just using like conventional tack and riding normally, I guess.
Right. But you basically got started from square one, at ground zero.
Absolutely.
Do you also think that contributed to your acumen in the sport currently?
Absolutely. I think it's tough, you know, trying to get to this level and beyond. And some kids that grew up riding and ranching and just always around horses, they have an even more natural pull to it than I ever did.
Okay.
So it always pushed me being able to ride and be better, because I would see these kids that had horses their entire life and they were better than me, and I wanted to be like them and I wanted to be better than them. So it was always a push for me to kind of always be improving and working
I think
with what I
sometimes
had.
something like that puts a little chip on your shoulder, and a chip on your shoulder can be a good thing,
Yeah.
and it can be a bad thing, obviously. But in most cases through athletics, I've found that when you feel like you're a little bit shorter, or you're not as heavy, and you're not as strong, or if you didn't get started soon enough, that it makes you try that much harder, and you're sort of making up for lost time.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that same note, it made me more grateful for everything that I did have, and as far as I have come, with only, you know, I'm 22 years old, so I've only been riding for, 6 years.
Right.
And, well, I've been riding longer, but barrel racing, I've only been barrel racing for 6 years.
Okay.
And a lot of these kids on the rodeo team have been riding since they were, or barrel racing since they were 8. So
Okay.
that entire time I've just been like, oh, I have to work harder because I have to be as good as them. And it's just made me really grateful for as far as I've come in the 6 years that I have been rodeoing. So
Indeed, indeed. With the barrel racing side of things, and that for me would be the most exciting thing to do. I'm comfortable around horses. I went to a Christian church camp that featured horses, and so we were there for the better part of a week or maybe 2. And being around horses is very peaceful, and it's very calming for me. But that's one of the things that we did, was the barrel racing.
Yeah.
And I think I actually came away with a 3rd place rim,
Yeah.
strangely enough, having never been on one before. But I can only say that it's a passion and a lifestyle, is it not?
yes, absolutely. It's, when I first came to school here, I actually had a track scholarship, and I was trying to juggle both, going to track practice and then going to rodeo practice as soon as I could get out of track practice.
Okay.
And it was hard because rodeo takes up so much time. You can't just be in and out of a practice in a couple hours like you might with other sports. You have to, take care of that animal, before and after practice. And you have to be out there every single day, where on your day off from track, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. But rodeo absolutely consumes your life. If that's what you choose to do, it will become your lifestyle.
Well,
if
what
you're
did you
serious
run
about
in
it.
track?
I was predominantly a 400 and 800 runner.
Okay, the hardest races in track, incidentally.
Yes, and I found out on the collegiate level I was not quite good enough. So,
Okay.
so
that was a nice switch. It was a convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And when I came to school, I kind of had a different chip on my shoulder because of track. I didn't have the senior year that I had wanted.
Okay.
So when I eventually did sign here, I was kind of wanting redemption. I was like, even if I just do it for 1 year, I was always thinking about rodeo the entire time. And I think that showed for sure. You could tell I wasn't as dedicated as I should have been,
Right.
because my mind was just, I wanted to go ride.
And I would think too that it takes time to develop a familiarity with horses. Horses are creatures that have their own mind and their own personalities and their own natures. And so the more of a bond that you develop with the horse, the better a barrel racer or whatever pursuit you have in rodeo that you're going to do. And so knowing that that's what it takes, I would think that's why you got gravitated away from the track over here and more toward the ag building over there.
Yeah, it's, you just, like, the entire time we'd be running, it was no longer fun for me. And the whole time I was like, oh, this would be so much fun if I was just out in the pasture, even if I wasn't riding, just spending time with them, like you said, creating a bond that always transfers over into the arena. They're going to trust you more, and they're going to be more willing to listen to you, where some horses, if you don't have that bond, they're going to try and fight you because they don't understand what you want. So
That sounds like that makes sense. And so during the 4 years that you've been here, what would you say is your brother brought you over here, and so you've stayed here and you've managed to transfer over to rodeo. What has been the best part of the college experience for you being here?
Oh, I have met so many people that, like I said, it's a lifestyle over here, and especially at Dickinson State, rodeo is a huge thing here. And so meeting people that were like-minded like me and were passionate about rodeo, it's just not something that I was ever exposed to at home. So I was the only kid that ever barrel raced or rodeoed or rode horses in my whole county, usually at home.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so meeting all these people that I could have a conversation with about the stuff that we both loved, that was really, really cool to see, and I've made
Probably
a lot
helps you
of
grow
friends.
faster as well.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Being able to talk to somebody and kind of troubleshoot, like, hey, I have this problem. They might know how to help you, and it's something that you might not have been able to think of yourself.
The experience, especially because you come in here as a freshman, right? And so you're participating in rodeo with seniors, they can give you some of those tricks, especially because you got started at the age of 16. Now all of a sudden you've got a leg up on the competition, and you're able to figure things out a little bit faster with the help of your teammates. And I would think that would be the joy of being part of a rodeo team. Now, down the road, if you're interested in going professional and things like that, it's not necessarily going to be as much of a team environment. Is that the kind of thing you're going to miss whenever if you do decide to go?
Yeah, and I've noticed that, even I've only been pro rodeoing for a year now, but it is very cutthroat when you get to those pro rodeos, and it's everybody for themselves, and it makes it hard because I try to haul with a couple other kids to the pro rodeos, but when you get there, it's really just whoever you came with, because everybody else is really just thinking about themselves.
Sure.
So yeah, I do miss the team aspect when we go.
The nice part too about being part of a college rodeo team is you get the scholarship opportunities, you get the chance to study something new, and you sort of have something to fall back on in the event, especially with something like rodeo that is sort of a dicey day by day, week by week, month by month existence. Then what have you studied while you've been here?
So I currently have my bachelor's degree in business administration, and additionally in human resources. Just graduated with that last December, and I'm currently working towards my master's in business admin and a second master's in entrepreneurship.
Oh, well done.
Yes,
well done.
thank
You're a hard
you.
charger.
Yeah.
That's super.
Yeah.
And have your folks had a chance to come over to visit you very much and
Yeah.
watch you participate?
My mom does not know how to stay home. She would be out here every weekend if she could. And with the rodeos, they try to travel to as many as they can. So they see me a lot, and then I don't like, sitting around on the weekend. So I'll try to go to a jackpot or a rodeo if it's close enough. And if it works out, they'll meet me there, and we'll go have dinner after.
Nice.
They like to see the horses.
And what are their names?
Dawn and Tim.
Dawn and
Beck.
Tim?
Yep.
And I'm going to assume that they are your two biggest fans.
Oh, of course, yeah. I have to tell my mom to be quiet when she videos me, because you won't be able to hear my time. They're yelling so loud usually.
And that's kind of a cool thing for me about rodeo is the fans of rodeo are different from fans of probably 90% of sports. That they're so deeply involved with it and very, very familiar. They're almost like NASCAR fans, where they know all the people who are out there and all of their times and what they've done. Have you developed a fan following here in this area?
A little bit, yeah. I would say just from meeting other people who weren't on the rodeo team, I've been lucky enough to fall into some groups of friends they're from Dickinson, and their parents love to follow and talk to me about it, and they show up to our home rodeo, and it's been really fun kind of garnering a following here of people that I never knew would have been interested in that before.
Sure, and I think sometimes with that, you create new fans.
Yeah.
And you create new enthusiasm and new enthusiasts. And the idea or the reality that a person can compete in rodeo at the college level, to me, has been fascinating since I've gotten here. And we try to get the results in as much as we can for y'all and try to cover the rodeos whenever they're here in town, because there's only one per season, basically, because you have a split season.
Yep.
And but I'm always fascinated and joyful watching the fans and how much they embrace the sport and how much they love it.
It's super exciting. The rodeos and the performances, when they fill up, it helps us compete too, because it's just, the atmosphere is so exciting to us, and even our horses can tell, you know, that it's a big deal to be running up that alley when the crowd is packed. So.
Right, exactly. How many horses have you owned?
Oh, right now, or just like over?
Over time.
Oh, I think maybe close to 10 or 12.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been maybe a lower number compared to other people, but my dad was a firm believer in just one horse at a time until I had a mare. I still have her, actually. She got hurt one summer, and so I couldn't barrel race, and I had some money saved up. I was working 3 jobs at the time, and I told my dad, I'm going to go look at this horse, and I think I'm going to buy her. And he goes, well, you can't have 2 horses in the pasture. What are you going to do with the other one? And he eventually broke, and I had 2. The most we ever had at one time was 4. But he really was not a fan of that. But yeah, I try to keep 2 horses, my main one and a backup at all times, just because you never know. I mean, just like an athlete can get hurt in a football game,
Indeed.
Our athletes can get hurt very easily. So
no question about that. No question about that. Which one was your favorite?
Oh, it's got to be right now. Her name's Pistol.
Okay.
Just the opportunity to own her, I never thought I would have that. I'm going to get like emotional over this.
It's understandable. I get it.
She's kind of famous where in the rodeo community, I guess, and in North Dakota, her previous owner, Callie Anderson, took her off the track as a 4-year-old and taught her to barrel race, and she is just so amazing. She takes such good care of me, and she's really been kind of the next stepping stone for me of getting me into the pro rodeo world and allowing me to achieve what I have achieved so far. And she just has so much heart. So she's amazing.
So I'm going to assume you're going to go ahead and stick with the sport after you graduate.
Yeah, of course.
But thank goodness you have the master's degrees and all that to back you up at the same time. You get the opportunity to travel a lot and you get to go places. And that, I think, would be one of the best experiences out of all of it for a young person, is to see all these locations. And most of the countryside out here is so beautiful anyway. Is that one of the best parts about what you do in rodeo?
I mean, sometimes the drives get really long, especially over the 4th of July. There are so many rodeos. They call it Cowboy Christmas when you go over the 4th of July. And I got the opportunity to run in Belfouche this summer on, I think it was the day before the 4th of July. And they had the fireworks, and we went hiking. And it was just such a beautiful rodeo to be able to kind of have your own little vacation, but also be doing what you love. And I love the Black Hills.
It's like you're not even working.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't look at, I guess, horses and rodeo as work. Maybe when I was a little bit younger and I didn't realize like what I had and the opportunities that I had, but a lot of people will say like, oh, I have 3 horses to ride today. I'm like, no, you get to ride 3 horses today.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah, it's just, and it's taken a lot for me to change my attitude about that too, because I was a 16-year-old at one point that didn't really realize, like I said, what I had. And now it's just like a full circle moment of I am like so grateful to be able to rodeo in college and in the professional world.
One of the things that I attended last year, and I'm pretty sure I saw you there, I got to come over here for the Cowboys and Candlelight thing that was going on, wrote up a little story about it. But what I found awesome about that event, it's very, very dressed up. Everybody gets a chance to show off a little bit. you get a chance to actually meet those individuals, teammates, and so on and so forth. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this behind the jersey, so people can get to know you and know about you, not just your stats, not just where you're from, and that's simple, tiny bits of information, but you get to learn who you are as a person. And I watch young people, which I found intriguing, just how inspired they are. Little kids who are like 8 years old, 7 years old, and they just kind of look up to you.
Yeah.
Has that been your experience as well?
It's a little tougher with barrel racing because there is a kind of a stigma against it of it's just the horse doing all the work. And so I would say the little girls definitely look up to me, and I've gotten to meet a few people just kind of going to the rodeos. Sometimes they're over fairs and everything, like state fairs, and we get a lot of kids there that will come up to me. But the thing I've noticed is it seems like the rough stock events and the roping that kids just flock to, and they want to know what that's about and want autographs. And
well, at the end of the day, you're doing what you're passionate about. I mean, you could do something else if you wanted to, but this is what you like to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, the opportunity to stick with it is certainly a good thing. And the final question that I have for you is, where do you find yourself in 5 years?
I hope to be making a run at the national finals in 5 years. I think that's a good goal that's not quite out of reach, but it gives me something to work towards. But yeah, in 5 years I hope to be established in my career, but also, you know, hitting it hard in the rodeo
it's a heck of a hobby to have.
Yeah.
Even though it's something you're super passionate about and you want to do it all the time, it is kind of a hobby because you do have to have electricity coming out of the walls and food in the cabinet. So I totally understand that. So folks, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to watch this episode. I appreciate you, Ms. Beck, for taking the time to speak with me. It's been fascinating and entertaining, and I'm certainly going to be out there as well to watch you guys and make sure that I get the results into the paper as much as we can, because the sport of rodeo is a very well followed sport in this region of the country, and justifiably so, because it is a lot of fun to watch, and you never know what might happen, to be honest with you. So thank you again. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
I appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, folks, for watching, and we'll see you soon.